They laugh at me too when I tell them to do their homework. Have you done your homework? Do it.
I have to say, they gave us 5 episodes and I binged them all in one sitting. I just was eating it up. I love the show.
Oh, nice. Brilliant. That's good to hear.
And I'm so interested in piracy. I went to ECU. Our mascot was the pirate. So I loved it. I'm from North Carolina. So I knew a little bit. David, for you, what was the most surprising thing that's in the show that is actually 100% true?
They had a term, I might say it wrong, called maidalage, which was marriage between 2 crew members and marriage between 2 same-sex crew members. And they had a term and a phrase for it. And to me, that was really interesting. And I never heard that before.
I never heard that either. Rhys, how much did you know about Stede Bonnet before playing him? And what was your favorite kind of fun fact to learn about him?
I didn't know much at all. He's kind of on the fringe in terms of the famous pirates. Not any longer though. But learning about him, everything you learn about him is a real shock, really. I mean, he left his life of wealth, his wife and children, and decided to, become a pirate. And so that in itself is ridiculous. But the fact that he then used a lot of his money secretly without his wife knowing to get this ship built. It was already an existing ship, but he added to it. This is the historical truth I'm talking about now, perhaps. And then he built a library within his boat. And that was really, really fascinating to me, because he took his life, as much of his own personal life, onto this ship, which was a completely different life. You're going to become a pirate, off you go. It's looting, it's sailing off into the unknown and probably not surviving. Yet don't forget to bring all your books. So I found that was fascinating. And of course, all his garments, all his fancy clothing. And that was real as well, because the actual guy, he wore this stuff because that's what he was used to wearing. So you wouldn't wear anything else. So he just wore these things that made him stand out, including the satin gowns and things.
Yeah, the real guy was spotted by someone walking around the deck in a silk dressing gown, reading a book. And he looks kind of depressed. It's one of the historical notes about him.
It's like the most historically wild midlife crisis I've ever.
Yeah.
So where did the idea of turning this kind of true story into more of a workplace comedy, where did that come from?
I just thought, I like when things have kind of a shaggy, small quality to it, especially when it's a big genre that has a big engine and we're used to seeing explosions and cannonballs and things. There's always a nice place to be like, well, what is it like on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
What's that like? What's it like when they're bored? And then it's very domestic. I mean, he left his family. Why? What was that about? Immediately, this character has a minute, specific, real personal life that, to me, when you mix it with a genre like pirates or aliens, I love that stuff.
Rhys, how does one prep for piracy? I was talking to the other cast earlier, and one of the most interesting things they said, they were like, I expected it to be kind of a smaller type set, and you get on there, the boat's rocking, I had to get my real sea legs going. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from New Zealand, so we kind of we've got a lot of water activity happening in our islands, and so I already knew the basics of sailing. I've been out at sea quite a bit, so I knew that type of thing. I really, the less you know, the better when you come into a show like this, because obviously Stede himself knew nothing practical about being on a boat. So I probably knew a bit too much, to be fair. So I had to do extra acting to pretend I didn't know what I was doing, which I think, I made it even more difficult for myself, didn't I?
I think the extra acting paid off. I think it's all up there. It's all
yeah. Other than that, I mean, in terms of commanding a group of people, I've done that a few times. I'm ex-military myself, so I know what it's like to be at both ends of authority, and it's very easy to mock an authoritative position, because it's like, How do you know? Why are you being the boss? And that kind of thing. And but I tell you why I'm being the boss, because I've got a fancier jacket. Okay, where's your jacket's not fancy. So there, it was too much fun.
Seeing Rhys boss somebody around it's just hilarious.
They don't take me seriously, do they? They never take. You should be one of my children. They laugh at me too when I tell them to do their homework. Have you done your homework? Do it.
Little art imitating life there.
Yeah.
I also really loved your dynamic with Blackbeard, aka Taika Waititi. I've interviewed Taika a few times, and he just kind of goes off the rails. I mean, David, can you walk me through what these two were like on set together when they're having their scenes together?
They have a chemistry with each other that when the first time they shot together, it was obvious. Like, it was noticeable, the chemistry that they have. It was very easy. They both played kind of a heavy scene. I think one of your first scenes was that one where he's in the bathtub. And it's immediately was like, oh, there's a shorthand there that's really lovely, and you don't always get to see it because Rhys and Taika are both used to coming into a scene, killing it by being absolutely hilarious, and then leaving. And so the thing that I noticed watching it was just, and I said this I know I said it to Taika and maybe Rhys, where it was like, you don't have to come into the scene and kill it because you've got 10 episodes of scenes to do this. You don't have to do everything, because they're just amazing. They want to come in and destroy. And I think on this, where they're both the lead and we get to see so much of them, it's nice to see them and to look at them and to watch them think. Like, I haven't gotten the chance to do that as a fan. So creating those moments was absolutely a joy.
Yeah, we're both very similar. We have the same sense of humor, and we've known each other for a long time, and we grew up watching the same comedy. And so for us, the challenge on this show was the more dramatic side of it. The comedy, it's a given. We're going to try and outdo each other every time. So if we're in a scene that is meant to be really funny, it'll be great. And we'll have an absolute blast doing it. And then there's those scenes where they're a little tougher, and we get inside the skin of both characters, and they have to explore each other's mindset. And so we were doing the same. Taika and I were going, what is it about us that makes us similar? And how did we get here? And we've thought about this quite often. What are we even doing here in America? And there's something that we've got that's obviously letting people believe that we should be here. And so we were deep diving into our psyche a little bit. And I think that worked out quite well for the characters on the show.
Well, I have to wrap it up, but such a pleasure talking to you both. Thank you so much for your time. I love the show. And I'm sorry if you can hear my dog snoring at my feet.
Love it. Let's see the dog.
Miles, come here.
Oh. What a beauty.
Miles.
Hi, Miles. Yeah.